Hello.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hello. How's everyone doing?
All right. How about you?
Not bad. Slow start this Tuesday.
Getting back from vacation, getting ready to go to vacation, dealing with everybody else in the team being on vacation.
Yeah, probably more that one.
Yeah. And the Kubernetes is released tomorrow.
I should give it that one more minute. All right, it is 3 after. So thanks everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, August 6th SIG Multicluster meeting. And Jack, it looks like you are our agenda.
This will be a quick one then. Yeah, I just wanted to see if we had an idea about next steps for end-to-end tests. I know that was one of the things that we were picking off while Mike and Ryan and others were dealing with potential last mile API changes before graduation. Are we essentially in a holding pattern in terms of end-to-end tests until we agree upon those API changes? Or is there additional work we can do? Or is Laura really the only one who can answer that question?
Laura would probably be Laura would probably be the best person to answer that question. I would expect that any end-to-end tests would have minor changes. Because we basically got to consensus last meeting on not moving spec to status because we learned that Google didn't actually make that change. It really was just a docs issue. And we agreed that it would be most appropriate to basically collapse spec and status entirely, have all the fields on the root, and amend the KEP to be more clear that it's a resource that should only be created by a controller. So I've been busy with Gateway API stuff for the past 2 weeks, but that is cleared off of my plate now. I got the proposal merged that I was trying to get through. So I'm going to be picking up that work this week to be able to update that PR to make that change. So it should be a relatively minor change to end-to-end tests, and I don't think it will block anything. And then once that PR is in like ready for review state, I want to make sure that we get it in front of Karmata and any other stakeholders, just to make sure that we're going to be okay moving this forward.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I think once that's done, we might finally, after who knows how long, be ready to promote this thing. Is that
that
really
is the
we
hope?
are?
Yeah, yeah, that would be the hope of, yeah, I think there's like a minimum soak period of a few months or something like that. And that would be time to make sure that implementations are able to
Yeah.
update to like a V1 Alpha 2. And assuming that is successful, then we should be clear to move to beta.
All right. Yeah, that sounds
Cool.
great.
That all sounds sane to me.
So Mike, are you
Jack.
going to take point on updating that the
Yes.
KEP?
Yep.
Cool. You just want to ping when it's ready? I'll take a look.
Yep. I can do, yeah, I can absolutely do that. That'll be a separate PR from the actual spec changes. But yeah, I can take ownership of both of those.
Last time there was a big effort on this with Laura and Paul and myself. I don't think we had full. Well, so I guess it goes back to the discussion of is this E2E test or conformance test we're talking about. I don't think we had full spec coverage in the test suite. And so, yeah, that's something we probably want to work on, but it might not be a blocker for GA.
Well, I think it is as currently defined. There's a checkbox that says end-to-end tests. So I just want to put my PM hat on and check it. So super happy to fulfill. If that means the stuff you're talking about, let's just do it. Sounds like we could probably do that in parallel with changes and prep for V1 Alpha 2.
I would think so, yes. Yeah, it wouldn't block a V1 Alpha 2. It would maybe block a V1 Beta 1.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Stephen, I'll work with you
Yeah.
in the async ether,
Right.
and we'll figure out what that's going to look like. Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
And Tom, who's on the call as well, he's interested in working on this stuff. So one of the ideas we had, well, at least I had back in the day, was that maybe we could contribute some of the tests from Submariner to the API. But yeah, we can discuss that offline.
Sounds promising. Nice.
All right. So next on the agenda is Ryan.
Hello. Let me share my screen. I think that's the one. So this is just a follow-up of what we discussed last time. Thank you for your review, Stephen. I will address. I think this is the more interesting thing here. Let me just in case not everyone has seen this cap. So we discussed that in last meeting, and we get I think we get a consensus on the API format. So we decided that as far as I think we decided that we will put the credentials into the status field. So that's why I went ahead and start to amend the cap. So in the status field, we will have there's actually 3 questions, open question in that previous talk. Just let me recap.
Ryan, sorry to interrupt, but you might have to zoom in a little bit.
Oh, sure. Is it readable now?
Yep, it's readable now. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, my screen resolution is really, I set it really high. I forgot that when I present it's hard to see. Yeah, just recap the previous meeting. There was I wrote like a 1-pager doc, describe 3 questions. One is status versus spec. I think in that last meeting, we have most people think it could be in the status. So it will be status. So it means this is the truth, and the consumer consume from the status of that credentials. The second question was whether we cramp or put everyone's whatever third-party integrators credential into same cluster profile API, or we create one cluster profile API for each one of them. And I think the consensus was put them into all of them into one single cluster profile. So we still have keep this nice property of one cluster profile representing one cluster. And the third question is whether we create our own secret or credential format, or we have different types for each different adapter. And at that time, I think we decided to use single format, and then we can write that's kind of implementation detail. We can write adapter library or something for different different customers. So that's kind of the gist of this cap. So in this cap here, the overall here is I think somewhere there's a status. Yeah, so it's now I put this into the status, the credential. Stefan has a good question, because now we think the format I discussed like with some of the stakeholders, the obvious choice is just basically to use, let me see, yeah, to use kubectl format. That's kind of the format we like kind of common and standard. I'm not aware of any other standard format, and we kind of do not want to reinvent our own stuff. So we're going to support kubeconfig, but in kubeconfig, we all know that one single kubeconfig can include many clusters and many credentials. So that means in our format, we kind of that means two things. One thing is multiple cluster profile could share the same kubeconfig. They don't have to be create each different kubeconfig files, and that's kind of my observation is that that's a kind of common practice. We use one kubeconfig to include a lot of clusters. Then the question comes, how do we? So here's the example. Right? Here's the example. Yeah, I will fix this. But this part now we have the consumer have this credentials namespace access ref right here. So inside that there are actually many cluster and context. That then it will be confusing to know which one is the one that corresponding to this cluster profile. One solution I think is Stefan mentioned. Just again follow what the normal kubectl convention, just to put a context field in it. Basically here instead of server it will be a context. I don't know if that's if someone has any if anyone has any thoughts on that. Other than that, that's pretty much it. So yeah, any questions, comments? Or we can do some async ones. So basically, my proposal is change this into a context to indicate which part is. Oh, another thing is last time we mentioned because everyone's credential or secret is put into the same file, right? Like here, so they need to be in different namespace. Mike sent a proposal, or I think now it's in B1 Alpha 1 of some field selectors in the subject review request. That I'm not 100% sure if that can apply to this directly, but the idea I think is right, that even in the same object we can give basically the granularity of RBAC. It's not directly, that's the part I still don't fully get it, because it's not directly in the RBAC API. But the idea I think is now the granularity of the authorization is not only a single object, it can even get into a sub part of the object. Like we can only give them the field of like Q, we only give them this part and under. I'm not 100% sure if we can give this top one, or I have to give them every one of these paths. But that seems to be a promising side, but not it's not graduated yet, not in the core, in the still need a feature gate, I think. Any questions? Or we need more time to look into this a little bit more. And again, this is just the beginning of the integration story, because we still haven't solved the problem of how we can allow user to set up all these credentials. This part is not part of the API. It's kind of implementation, kind of design. We will see if we are going to, if there's any need to standardize that part. Yeah, hey, Jeremy.
Yeah, I for me, I think I need to sit with this a little bit and think about it. Something about having all of the different credentials on, like something about having everything listed on the one resource feels complicated. But I'm having trouble right now putting my finger on it.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, definitely take your time. You can comment, and we can also, if you have questions, we can either sync offline or comments on that. Yeah, definitely. And I will look into the subject request field a little bit more to fully understand how, if that can apply, how does that apply to this case of only showing. So the ideal case, we only show Q admin this part, and not let them even see the other part. Although currently, ideally, even if they can see it, because the namespace is in a different namespace, they cannot really see the real stuff. But I get the point that you probably don't want to even they to even see that.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's not it's less about seeing, and it's more that in this model, a consumer has to know how they're identified, and we have to trust that they will go look up their own resource.
They cannot, even if they, for example, if Q somehow want to see Argo, I think at least Argo can be clear that the namespace is segregated. They cannot get access to that
Right.
part.
So we create, like, I'm curious if we can think of other precedent for this sort of thing, and see what I know. There's not quite similar mainstream Kubernetes multi-cluster lookup, but if we can think of other resources where there's some form of consumer finding its version of a resource, because that's the high level concept we're going for here. If there's some precedent we can try to anchor on.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I'll fix this. I'll address the comments right away, and then maybe add a little bit more on how does this segregation work, or how look at some other examples of existing systems or precedents in the Kubernetes world. Yeah, definitely.
I suspect we've got a bit of a chicken and egg problem here. We won't really know if this, well, unless, I guess we could sit down and figure out what all the CRs would look like for a queue system, for example, but the real test is going to be actually trying to implement it.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point. So we have a KubeCon China or KubeCon Hong Kong talk in like 2 weeks. The talk is about integrating Q and Argo CD with cluster profile. So we actually are actually working on the demos. So we'll report back on what is what we found. So definitely we'll put this to test. And just on surface, I can tell you, Q actually directly use the kubeconfig as its credentials. And Argo is different. Argo has its own secret format. And I looked at Argo's. I don't know if I have. Oh yeah. Can you see my screen? Can you see the Argo one?
It's very small. Maybe zoom in a bit.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure if you can see my other tab.
That's better.
I think it's somewhere here. Hold on, where's the cluster? I cannot find its cluster definition.
No, it was on the page that you were in, and then
really?
you just need to scroll down a bit, and then there's like a clusters. Scroll down a bit.
Is that the one? Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is Argo CD's definition. So I look into that. Basically, most of them matches. Only thing doesn't match is this part. This is they have a very special AWS auth config that our kubeconfig wouldn't match naturally into. The rest of them we can easily convert. This is the part I looked. At least I don't see a very easy way to convert into on into this. But this is kind of a cloud provider specific field. I'm not sure if we need to address that. Another follow-up is I do like to see if the current format works with cloud providers like GCP or GK, EKS, AKS stuff, because we know that in most cloud providers, we're not going to use tokens directly map. We are not going to add secrets directly to their put all the secrets into one single cluster and just leave it there. Most of the security guys will swim at us, so we will make sure I would do some follow-up to see if basically try to make it work and make sure that that works for the most cloud providers using use OICD or different type of authentication instead of just embed your real token or cert into the KubeConfig. But I think it still works because again, KubeConfig is the pretty much de facto standard of accessing any class. It's just a different way to do that. Just want to make sure, because obviously I know AKS is a lot better than GK or EKS, but I will make sure that works. Yeah, that's it from me, and definitely welcome any offline comments. And I'll try to address that. Any other questions? If not, I will yield.
Just to conclude on this point, is it fair to wait for your presentation at KubeCon to get the demo results?
Sure.
And wait for that before,
Yeah, it's only 2 weeks anyway, right? So,
yeah.
But oh, by the way, anyone going to from this group? Anyone's going to Hong Kong for the KubeCon? Do we still need to have a meeting? Okay, so then we don't need to skip a meeting. Yeah, by that time I would address this and hopefully any other following comments, and then I will report back. Or last time the EU KubeCon's YouTube video was uploaded like only 2-3 days later, super fast. So hopefully maybe at that time we will also be able to. I can share the YouTube link in the next week meeting, or I will just report what happened there.
All right,
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right, I think that concludes our agenda for today. Short meeting, unless anyone has anything else they want to throw in at the last minute.
Seems good. Excited to see all the stuff moving forward.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks everyone. Get some time back today. Enjoy your Tuesday.
Thank you.
Take
Bye
care, y'all.
bye.
Jeremy, thanks everybody.